tonight I get the honor of introducing a rock star in our midst. Miss Valerie Segrest is, I hear yays. Valerie is a native nutrition educator who specializes in local and traditional foods. She is a member of the Muckleshoot tribe, and she serves her community as the coordinator of the Muckleshoot Food Sovereignty Project and also works as the Traditional Food and Medicines Project Manager. In 2010, she co-authored a book, Feeding the People, Feeding the Spirit, Revitalizing Northwest Coastal Indian Food Culture. She's also can you get that book on Amazon? Where do we get that book? From your website? From the college. I know everybody in here is going to want to order that book. She's a Kellogg Fellow at the Institute of Agricultural Trade and Policy. Could everybody please give a warm welcome to Valerie as she speaks to us?
Oh my gosh, that just made me incredibly nervous. Hello, and thank you for joining me tonight when we could be watching the debate, right? Anyways, it's really nice to be here, and so invigorating to see such an amazing group of people come together and share so many wonderful messages around food, my favorite thing. So tonight, can we bring up the YouTube thing? Tonight, I was kind of sitting in the audience a little bit earlier and heard some of the other keynotes, and I had a plan, and then I decided to zig and zag, so I'm going a different direction. And I thought it'd be nice to just tell some stories, some traditional food stories. So my elders always press me to remember that the plants and foods are not commodities. They are our greatest teachers. They don't teach us in a way many of us are accustomed to these days, like how many teachers teach. They stand here and tell you what they know and all they know. They teach us by just being, by being exactly who they are, and by asking us humans to witness their life, to observe it, and then understand how we might intervene in such a way that promotes abundance and a healthy relationship with those plants and foods. The plant people, which we call the oldest people, older than the fish and the reptiles and the birds and us pitiful humans, teach us how to live in diverse environments. They teach us how to stand up against harsh storms and great challenges. They teach us how to stand side by side among other nations of plant people and in all their diversity, hold the earth together and live their life as a teaching for those to come in the future. They have their own unique stories of how they showed up in our ancestors' lives and created change in a time of great need for us. These stories affirm the commitment we have made to always respect our foods, hold ceremonies honoring them, and to pray for their return so that we might continue to live a good and healthy life. So I'd like to share a few of those stories with you tonight so we might collectively reflect on these stories and return to them as guiding lights as we carry the work. At this time, High Mountain Huckleberry is just ending its season. It starts September 1st of every year. That's my birthday. I think it's the gift that I get for being born in the wonderful month of September. But we're just at the very end of it. And this is always, my favorite time of year. And on a clear day in my territory, the beautiful Mount Rainier is the most delicious thing you could ever see. It's glorious, it's amazing, it's huge, and it makes me want to eat it. Just like a big piece of gelato on top of a cone, like eating the mountain, right? I just want to put it in my mouth and taste it, which is probably a thought I should keep to myself, but anyways. My children, this is my youngest daughter, also feels the same way, clearly. And when you're in the mountains and eating the berries, it is like you're eating the mountain. It is like you're really tied to that land. And so, yeah, you'll see pictures of my daughters here. I forgot that they're always in my food pictures now. I don't know what to do. So if I'm trying to explain something, you won't have to eat dessert because they're super sweet. So the story of huckleberry medicine goes, a long time ago, a man had a daughter who fell very ill. She was very sick, and her family tried all the remedies that they knew of to take care of her, but she couldn't beat it. She just kept maintaining this illness. They even called medicine people from distant lands to come and share their gift. And nothing worked. She kept getting more and more sick. And so out of desperation, her father prayed for an answer, prayed for a remedy. And that night, when he went to bed, he had a dream. And in that dream, a plant came to him and said, "You are to sing your prayer song and walk up into the mountains. And you'll know when to stop singing. And when you do, open your eyes and you will see the medicine that you need." And so that very next morning when he woke up, this man listened to his dream. He followed the trail up into the high mountains. He walked a very, very long ways, singing his song the entire time, and realized he was ready to stop. When he opened his eyes, he saw the huckleberry bush. And he knew that this was the medicine that he needed. So he gathered the berries and brought them back to his daughter, and she was so sick she couldn't even chew. She couldn't even open her mouth. So the first couple of days, he had to actually press the juice into her mouth, and she began to feel better. And then he mashed up the berries and gave them to her, and she got even more, feeling even more better. More better. I was trying not to say that. So then she gets better. She is able to actually eat the berries, and she can feel herself returning to full wellness. This man, the village, became really curious about what kind of medicine he had used to cure his daughter, and so he shared with his fellow community members about his dream. And they didn't believe him. They didn't believe that this berry could be such powerful medicine. And so he prayed again, and that night he had another dream where the plant came to him, the huckleberry, and said, "My berries are the blood of the earth, and my branches are the veins of the earth. And whenever you need help, you can always turn to me." And so he brought that dream out to the village, and people believed him, and that is all. Now, as a trained herbalist, I'm taught that the huckleberries are blood builders, they're vasotonifiers, they balance our body, they're rich in antioxidants, they're high in vitamin C, they are one of the only fruits that doesn't raise your blood sugar. And every year when they are in season, people are called to the mountains. This is a tradition that people, hold to this very day. So you travel, actually there's 20 different varieties of huckleberries that grow in the Northwest, which as they ripen, people would follow and harvest. This plant organizes community, and it's more than just going to the grocery store and buying, a carton of blueberries, which are cousins of huckleberries. But that process is really transactional when you go to the grocery store and you're just purchasing something. The process of traveling to a high mountain meadow, harvesting, creating memories with your family, bringing that home and sharing that gift with people with berry-stained, blood-of-the-earth hands, creates so much more opportunity to feed somebody on a different level than what you would be getting in a real consumer mindset. It's not just transactional anymore, it's transformational. You're promoting a community where you have a sense of belonging, where you feel appreciated, where you have an opportunity to be generous. That love is cultivated, and without really even knowing it, you become an active citizen in your food system. These are the things, turns out, these are all of the elements necessary to treat and prevent addiction. Not just to drugs, but to sugar, to tobacco, to sex, to work, to everything that we are faced with in our modern lives. So reclaiming our health traditions is not just a singular event. It is not just a transactional, I go to the clinic, I take insulin, and now I'm not diabetic anymore. It is about treating ourselves by being active in our food system so that we can transform the next generation. I'm extremely jet lagged, so I wrote notes. I hope you don't mind. But this is the medicine that we're all looking for. And it's important to remember that we do not need to be native food experts. Not one person is expected to know everything there is to know. And this is something that when I first started working in tribal communities as a nutritionist, I felt very overwhelmed with, because I'm a plant person, clearly. And I was getting asked and requested to do more workshops on hunting and fishing, because people would say things to me like, we're not all made of twigs and berries, Val. So can we hear some, stories about hunting and fishing? And that process for me, in particular, asking other people for help, asking other people and creating an opportunity and a platform for people to come and share their gifts around how to fillet a salmon and their pursuits of wild game and harvesting things that I didn't know about. That was all part of the process. This is not your work to carry alone. And that upholds another teaching of ours, that you aren't to teach all of your children the same thing. That if everybody knew everything there was to know, that we wouldn't need each other anymore and the world would fall apart. So you don't need to know 100 plants, just maybe 3 or 4 really well. And knowing those 3 or 4 like they're your best friends are going to take you through any situation that you need. So it's going to take all of us to encourage the health of the land, and food is the right place to begin. Several times a day, when our hunger grows, we are presented with the opportunity to reflect on what we eat. We are presented with the opportunity to reflect on how our choices might transform our world, and we can rise to the request of our teachers, like the berries and the salmon and the nettle and the fish, and practice good stewardship, reciprocity, collaboration, and generosity. And always pay attention to our traditional food teachings. Food is a gift. And as Coast Salish people, we view native foods as spiritual, mental, and physical medicine. When we are actively on the land in pursuit of wild game, or fishing the rivers, or cultivating our prairie lands, or harvesting medicine with good intention, we are gifted with new memories and those of a distant past. These memories remind us of who we are and the lands that we come from. They settle us in a sense of belonging that promotes balance and generosity. And remember that our foods are more than commodities. They are our greatest teacher, and they weave together the social fabric of our community. The salmon, for example, remind us of what it takes to be an advocate for the land. Every year, they journey the ocean waters, eating, exercising, and tonifying their bodies with the richness of the seas. And upon returning, they give their life in order to be nourishment for the land and everything that dwells on it. We witness this homecoming and ask ourselves how we human beings might be like the salmon people. How can we be powerful medicine for our landscapes and humble ourselves truly enough to honor the gift of food? We live in a time where our cultural ecosystems are challenged. And despite all of this, Native people continue to be relentless advocates for the continuity of our native food system. We're seeing this now with the pipeline issue, and I'm so moved by the amazing exercise of solidarity that's happening. And I also want to remind us that every one of us has a pipeline story. every tribal community is dealing with something that is similar to this. And so return home and find out what your pipeline story is too. Organize people, get them together and protect our lands, protect our cultural ecosystems. Those are the things that shape and inform who we are in the world. And so despite all of this, Native people continue to be relentless advocates because we are, after all, students of our foods. We're students of the salmon people. So with that, I think my voice is going to give out any second now. I'm sorry, I just returned from the Terra Madre in Italy, got here early this morning, and I'm like totally discombobulated. So now you can all enjoy your dinner. Thank you for having me. You lift me up, and go home and carry your beautiful work. You're changing the world. It's amazing and such an honor to witness. Thank you. Thanks.